Happy Super Bowl Sunday, everyone. This is Daniel, the Note to Self guy, coming at you. Hope everyone's doing well. Wanted to remind you guys about what we talked about last week, which was we talked about how you were doing in your 2019 New Year's resolutions. This week, we're going to shake things up a little bit because technically we're supposed to be on Poor Man's Proverb number 17, which was entitled, still is entitled, Keep 2019 in its proper perspective. And that Poor Man's Proverbs dealt with basically us keeping a focus on trying to earn the 5 crowns that we're eligible for in heaven. And just real briefly, I'll go over what they are. The first one is the incorruptible crown. That can be found in 1 Corinthians 9, verses 14 through 27, the crown of rejoicing. Which is the 1 Thessalonians 2:19, the crown of life, James chapter 1 verse 12, and in Revelation chapter 2 verse 10. And then there's the crown of righteousness, 2 Timothy 4:8, and then the final one, which is the crown of glory, 1 Peter 5:25 verses 2 and 4. I'm not going over this right now because you can read it on the blog. Hey, Becky, how you doing? Thank you for joining me. Now, listen, you want to listen up to this one because this one's entitled. I'm kind of jumping over here, but we're going to be talking about Poor Man's Proverbs number 18, which is, are all sins created equal? Are all sins created equal? Now, think about that and certainly chime in as I begin to talk and let me know what you think. So anyway, in reference to Poor Man's Proverbs number 17, which is these crowns, which is something great that we have something to look forward to, then you can read more about that if you just go to the website and you'll be able to read it in its entirety. So let's talk Poor Man's Proverbs, shall we? Okay, let's do it. So Poor Man's Proverbs for today, as I mentioned earlier, the topic is, are all sins created equal? So what do you think? Are they? Well, oftentimes I hear people saying, a sin is a sin. One sin is just as bad as another. In other words, hey, if you tell a little white lie, that's just like knocking off a bank. Same deal. So, some people don't put any importance on one sin versus the other. Well, let's be clear about this. First of all, God doesn't like sin of any kind. As a matter of fact, he doesn't want us to do it. So that's the first thing. But to the point of, or to the question of, is all sin created equal? Personally, I don't think so. And I never subscribed to that philosophy. And let me explain to you why. The first thing, the gold standard in terms of sins to stay away from, God gave these to us by way of the 10 Commandments, right? Which is found in Exodus chapter 20, verses 1 through 17. Now, let me just go over these real quick. And this is something that, just as a little sidebar, here's a little game that you can try. Try to name all the 10 Commandments without looking. All right. Every time I do this, I always seem to forget one. It may take me a 30 seconds or a minute or so, and then I finally remember what the 10th one is. So see if you can name these 10 Commandments on the side without peeking. But anyway, so I don't miss one this time because I'm on air. I'm going to read it as it is. The first four of the 10 Commandments has to do with God and our relationship with Him. But it goes number 1. You shall have no other gods before me. Command number 2, you shall not make idols. Number 3, you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Number 4, remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Number 5, you shall honor your mother and father. Number 6, you should not murder. Number 7, you should not commit adultery. Number 8, you should not steal. Number 9, you should not bear false witness against your neighbor. In other words, lying. And number 10, you should not covet. Okay, so remember, these are, as I see it, the gold standards of sins to stay away from. So that's the first parameter, right? Now, God takes it a step further. In Proverbs chapter 6, verses 16 through 19, he talks about sin that he hates, and he actually uses the word hate. Now, hate is a pretty strong word. So when you say you hate something, I mean, that's not like, I dislike it. I mean, that's something that's much deeper than dislike. It is a strong disdain for something. So God uses the term hate, and I'm going to read what it says here. starting with chapter 6, starting with verse 16. There are 6 things the Lord hates, 7 that are detestable to him. Now, again, look, words mean something. Hate, and then he uses the word detestable. Okay, he goes on to say, number 17, haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked schemes, feet that are quick to rush into evil, a false witness who pours out lies, and a person who stirs up conflict in the community. Now, he's already given us the gold standards of sins to stay away from, which are the 10 Commandments. Then he goes on to tells us in Proverbs chapter 6, things that he hates, and he even uses the term detestable. Now, if you're weighing sins here, 10 Commandments, we know they're bad, right? And then these things that he hates, pretty strong, but he doesn't stop there. There's one other sin that's worse than all of these, all right? And that one can be found in Mark chapter 3, verses 28 and 29. And that one is, of course, it's called the unforgivable sin. And let me read you what it says. Truly, I tell you, people can be forgiven for all their sins and every slander they utter. But whoever blasphemes against the Holy Spirit will never be forgiven. They are guilty of an eternal sin. So if he's saying here that there's one sin that you can never be forgiven for, that means by default or by definition, it has to be worse than all the other ones, right? I mean, that's what it means to me. So I believe, with that being said, when you compare sins, that there are clearly some that are worse than others. Now, let me say this. Consider this. If a person were to say they broke into somebody's house, got caught, B&E charged, breaking and entering, and they may get 5 years for that, right? But if you go and you kill somebody, right, and you get caught for that, chances are what you're going to get is a life sentence, or you may get executed for that crime. So yes, there are both sins in this case, or both things. These are both things that are wrong, both crimes, but one has a heavier penalty than others. And I believe God looks at sin the exact same way. That even in hell, there are some folks that are going to be worse off than others because of the things to which they have done. So I believe sin has a commensurate punishment that is associated with that. So to the question, is all sin created equal? I think the answer to that is a resounding no. They're not equal. Some sin is clearly worse than others, and on top of that, the punishment for some is much worse than others. So those of you that are listening to this, feel free to chime in. Let me know what your thoughts are. Even though I may be off the air here soon, I'll still comment when I get a chance. But this is a question that I'm sure people have a lot of opinions on. So thank you again, Becky, for watching with me today. Now, next week we're going to talk about. Let's see, what we're talking about next week. We're going to talk about Poor Man's Proverbs number 19, which is entitled Avoid the Spotlight. Avoid the spotlight. You don't know what I'm talking about? No problem. You go to the website and you can get a sneak peek as to what we're talking about. Just hit the blog tab and just look up Poor Man's Proverb number 19, and you will see Avoid the Spotlight, and you'll see exactly what it is that we're going to be talking about next week. Now, since this is Super Bowl Sunday, the Note to Self guy is going to give you his prediction as to who's going to win the Super Bowl. Now, let me start off by saying this. I have no horse in the race. In other words, neither the Patriots nor the Rams happens to be my team. My team is doing exactly what I'm doing today, which is watching. That would be the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, guys, you need to get on your game next year so we can make this playoffs and do this thing. Thank you, Becky. I appreciate you saying that things were explained. So that's good. That's great. I appreciate that. Now, being that I don't have a horse in this race, who do I think will win? Or who do I want to win? Well, because my wife is the president of the the president of the New England Patriots fan club. I mean, the woman loves the Patriots. She has Patriots paraphernalia all over the place. She has a parking spot that says Patriot stuff. She's a Patriot nut, basically. I kind of like to see them win, because if they don't win, then she's going to be, sorry, Becky, here comes that word again. She's going to be pissed off, right? And she'll be pissed off for a while. And, a pissed off wife does not make a happy husband. So, I like to see them win just so she'll be in a good mood, and that'll be good for me. Okay. So, now my prediction is that I believe the Patriots will win this thing, and the score is, drum roll. My prediction is New England Patriots, 30, the Los Angeles Rams 27. So you heard it here first. So with that being said, you guys have a wonderful Super Bowl Sunday. Go out there and love somebody. This is Daniel, the Note to Self guy, signing off. Peace. Love y'all. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye for now.